Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this. Because today we are fundamentally changing how you look at your own body. For decades, we've been told that fasting, skipping meals or going without food for extended periods, is this dangerous starvation mode diet. But honestly, the science tells a completely different story. We're going to look at the hard biological evidence showing that fasting isn't a crisis at all. Actually, it's a highly sophisticated evolutionary biological maintenance program, one that your body was literally designed to run.
So think about what happens if you skip breakfast or maybe push your lunch back a few hours. Most of us feel this low-grade anxiety, right? We've been trained to view that sensation of hunger as a biological emergency. It feels like a flashing red light on our dashboard, warning us that if we don't top off the tank right now, the engine is going to fail. But what if that feeling isn't a crisis at all? What if that anxiety around skipping a meal is just a misunderstood, ancient instruction that we've simply forgotten how to read?
Because as Dr. Bennett's research points out, when you stop eating, your body absolutely does not shut down. It doesn't panic. It does exactly what any intelligent system does when the primary power source goes offline. It switches to the backup generator. It's so cool. Our bodies actually have two entirely distinct power systems. There's the main grid, which is powered by the food we just ate, and then there's this massive, highly efficient backup generator that's fueled entirely by our stored body fat. All right, part one, flipping the fuel switch from grid power to the backup generator. Now, this fuel switch isn't some sort of metabolic accident. It's an elegant evolutionary design meant to keep us thriving during periods of scarcity. Think of your main grid, which is powered by glucose and stored as glycogen in your liver, like cash in your wallet. It's super easy to access, but you can only carry so much of it, usually about 12 to 18 hours worth. When that wallet starts to empty out, your body doesn't just go bankrupt. No, it shifts over to the backup generator, your stored fat, which it turns into these highly efficient molecules called ketones. This fat is basically like money locked in a deep freeze. You have vast reserves of it, literally hundreds of thousands of calories, just waiting to be used. So, you might be wondering, why is it so hard for people to access that deep freeze? Well, meet the gatekeeper, insulin. Think of insulin as this angry monster that acts as a literal lock on your fat cells. Insulin is the hormone that gets released whenever we eat. And as long as insulin is patrolling your bloodstream, because we're just greasing on food all day, that door to your fat stores stays tightly locked. You simply cannot burn your stored fat while insulin is high. It's only when we finally pause our eating and let that insulin drop that the lock clicks open, allowing the backup generator to spin up. Okay, moving on to part two, busting the starvation myth, safety, muscle, and hunger. Let's proactively crush the biggest fears people have around fasting, starting with the most persistent one. Will fasting destroy your muscle mass? I get it. It's a totally intuitive fear. If no food is coming in, surely the body panics and starts cannibalizing its own structural tissue for fuel, right? Actually, no way. From an evolutionary standpoint, breaking down the exact muscle you need to hunt and survive a period of scarcity would be a terrible design flaw. And trust me, our bodies are much, much smarter than that. Up to 2,000%. Yeah, let that sink in. That is the potential spike in human growth hormone, or HGH, measured in men during a short-term fast. And we see really significant spikes for women, too. Your body releases this massive surge of HGH specifically to protect your lean muscle mass. It's basically a biological preservation order. The body actively tells your tissues, hey, protect the muscle and burn the fat instead. Muscle breakdown is a feature of extreme, prolonged starvation. It is definitely not what happens during a 24 to 72-hour fast. But wait, what about the hunger? Won't it just keep getting worse and worse until you can't stand it? Let's redefine hunger for a second by looking at ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone. We tend to think hunger is this straight line heading right towards zero, but ghrelin actually operates in waves. It rises for about 20 to 45 minutes, usually right around the times you habitually eat, and then whether you eat or not, it naturally subsides. It's a habit signal, you guys, not an emergency siren. Plus, as your body starts producing those ketones from your fat stores, the ketones directly suppress ghrelin, which makes that hunger quiet down significantly. The fear of a dangerous blood sugar crash, or hypoglycemia, is also a total myth for healthy individuals. You might be thinking, but doesn't my brain need glucose? Well, yes, some parts of it absolutely do. But here's the catch. You don't need to eat carbohydrates to get it. Through this amazing process called gluconeogenesis, your liver manufactures the exact baseline amount of glucose your brain requires, completely from scratch, using raw materials like glycerol from your own fat. So your blood sugar stays perfectly stable because your liver basically has its own internal glucose manufacturing facility. How cool is that? Which brings us to part three,
the cellular cleanup crew. Why autophagy matters.
Now that we've established the safety of prolonged fasting, let's look at the awe-inspiring biological why, happening right down at the cellular level. Like, why did we evolve to do this? The answer lies in a literal Nobel Prize-winning cellular repair mechanism. Imagine you've got two managers inside your body. When you're constantly eating, a pathway called mTOR is active. Think of mTOR as this frantic growth foreman, constantly shouting, build, build, build. He literally never stops to clean up. But when you fast, an energy sensor called AMPK takes over. AMPK is the site inspector. He halts the incoming supplies, quiets the foreman, and calls in a deep cleaning demolition crew. This process is called autophagy, which literally translates to self-eating, where your cells selectively break down damaged proteins and dysfunctional mitochondria, recycling the whole shebang into fresh, healthy materials.
And the timeline here is just fascinating. Hour by hour, the benefits actually escalate. At around hour 12 of a fast, autophagy gently begins. By hour 24, your cells are in the middle of a massive deep clean, actively breaking down misfolded proteins that are known to cause inflammation. Push that to 48 hours, and your body is actually pruning your immune system, literally clearing out old, inefficient, inflammatory cells. And by 72 hours, research suggests a profound immune reset, where stem cells in your bone marrow are primed to generate brand new, highly capable immune cells the second you start eating again. It's a complete biological renovation.
But listen, it isn't just your body that gets an upgrade, it's your brain too. During a fast, those fat-derived ketones we talked about cross the blood-brain barrier, providing incredibly clean and stable fuel. A protein called BDNF, which acts a lot like fertilizer for new neurons, can actually spike by up to 50%. Researchers call this the ancient hunter's edge. I mean, think about it from an evolutionary perspective. A foggy brain during a food shortage would literally mean extinction. Our brains evolved to become sharper, more focused, and less inflamed precisely when food was scarce. It was an absolute requirement to ensure our survival.
All right, part 4, Fasting Safely and Successfully, the Execution Guide.
So how do we actually do this safely and successfully? Because while prolonged fasting is an incredible tool, it definitely operates within strict physiological boundaries that we absolutely must respect. First and foremost, the non-negotiable electrolytes. When insulin drops during a fast, your kidneys release sodium, and water naturally follows. So mild dehydration happens pretty quickly. People often feel fatigue, headaches, or muscle cramps, and they immediately blame the fast itself. But actually, it's just mineral depletion. Proper electrolyte management is essential physiology, not some optional extra. A simple pinch of quality salt in your water, maintaining your potassium, and taking an evening magnesium supplement literally make the difference between a fast that feels miserable and one where you feel incredibly clear and energized. The second most critical role is exactly how you break the fast. You absolutely cannot just jump straight into a massive meal. Dr. Bennett's protocol lays out a super safe sequence for this. First, you sip some bone or vegetable broth. This gently wakes up your digestive enzymes and helps restore electrolytes. Next, wait about 30 to 60 minutes and introduce some soft proteins, like eggs or fish. This gently shifts your body from repair mode into rebuild mode. And finally, you move on to a normal, healthy, protein-forward meal. Doing it this way prevents dangerous insulin spikes and saves you from severe digestive distress. Now, a quick but super important caveat here. Fasting is a really powerful biological tool, and it honestly isn't for everyone. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, if you have a history of eating disorders, if you're underweight, or if you're on specific medications, especially ones affecting blood sugar like insulin, prolonged fasting requires strict clinical guidance or should just be avoided entirely. Always, always consult your physician. We're exploring the incredible science of what the healthy human body is capable of here, but your individual safety always comes first.
So we've seen that skipping a meal isn't a crisis. It's actually the key that unlocks a deep freeze of efficient energy. It triggers a massive surge in growth hormone to protect your muscle, it sharpens your brain, and it calls in a cellular cleanup crew that can fundamentally renew your immune system safely. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. In a modern world where we are constantly trained to just graze around the clock, are you ready to stop the endless construction, give your digestive system a well-deserved rest, and finally let your built-in biological repair crew run its ancient program?